Hello everyone. In the last video, I introduced you to 1/2 and its multiples on the number line. So that's what you see here on this picture. You see that all the thickened dots are multiples of half. They are an infinite sequence of equally spaced points where the distance between any two consecutive points is exactly this length, which we said is 1/2. And the multiples of 1/2 are listed here in set notations. We can make some very quick observations just looking at the number line. Let's go and look at this point. This point is a number and it has two labels, 0 and 0/2. Hence we can conclude 0 equals 0/2 because both the symbols are pointing out or referring us to the same point, which is the same number. And similarly we can notice that the point 1, this point, it has two symbols, 1 and 2/2. That's how we get 1 equals 2/2. And similarly, this point, which is a number, is both 2 and also 4/2. And similarly, these two. Now let's look at a pattern in this, the pattern that exists in it. Let's focus on 3. Firstly, notice all of the fraction symbols have a 2 in the denominator. That is, every multiple of half has a 2 in the denominator. We said that refers to the fact that the original unit segment was cut up into 2 equal pieces. And let's now look at the numerator that corresponds to 3. It's 6. That 6 is telling us that this long segment 0 to 3 has been cut up into 6 shorter segments, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and each shorter segment is of equal length and it's of length half. So that's what the 6 is telling us. So you can see the way we got 6 is this 0 to 3 is made up of 3 of these segments, which again each of those segments was cut up into 2 equal pieces, and hence 6. So in each of these you can see that 0 is 2 times 0, 2 is 2 times 1, 4 is 2 times 2, 6 is 2 times 3, 8 is 2 times 4. And we can continue writing similar statements. Instead, what we can also do is, after looking at the pattern, we can summarize all of it into a neat equation. Firstly, for 3rd and 4th grades, it's this piece is not appropriate. So perhaps you can just do a few more examples. But for 5th and higher up, it's a good idea to summarize like this. If m is a whole number, then notice that m can also be written as a multiple of 1/2 in this manner. M equals 2 times m over 2. So when you write this out, one piece of caution: whenever you use a letter in a math equation, you have to say what the letter stands for. So in this case, we are saying m equals 2 times m/2, where m is a whole number. If we did not write this part, then this part of this equation would not make sense. So be sure to always say what the letter stands for. And also point out to students why we are using a letter here, why are we suddenly bringing in letters. Point out that if m equals 0, then this equation would exactly match with this equation. If m equals 1, then this equation matches exactly with this equation. If m equals 4, then this matches with this equation, and so on. So in other words, m can be here, being very clever about using the letter m. We're saying m is a whole number, and m can be replaced by any whole number that you feel like, and this equation will be true. So that is the power of using a letter. It's an efficient way of packing all of this information into just one single equation. But when you use a letter, you should also say what the letter is. So that's this observation. Here are some more observations. From the number line, if you look at this piece, this segment from 0 to 3, we can think of this segment as being composed of these 3 segments, where each segment is of length 1, same as this unit segment. So sometimes we like to say that as 3 is 3 copies of 1. 3 is 3 copies of 1. That's just a shorthand way of saying 3 is the length of this segment, and this long segment is made up of 3 equal pieces, and each short piece is of length 1. And we can also write it as equation 3 equals 1 plus 1 plus 1. This is pretty easy for students to see. Now let's look at the top labels. You can pick any of them, and I will pick this point's label 6/2. Now we look at 6/2, and we think about how to interpret the numerator and denominator. 6/2 is 6 copies of 1/2. What does that mean? If you look at this segment from 0 to 6/2, and I'm using the top label, then this long segment is made up of 6 shorter segments, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Each shorter segment is of the same length, and it's of length 1/2. So that information is packed into this sentence. 6/2 is 6 copies of 1/2. The length of this long segment is 6/2, which is equal to the sum of the lengths of these 6 shorter segments. We can also write this as 6/2 equals, this length 6/2 equals 1/2 length plus 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 1/2 length. 6/2 is the sum of those halves. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 of those. Okay. So if you make these observations as soon after you write the multiples of half, we have not yet defined addition of fractions, but when we get to addition of fractions, knowing this will be very useful. So here I have done this sort of a statement only for 6/2. You can do it for more of these. You can start with 2/2 and practice saying 2/2 is 2 copies of 1/2. So 2/2 is 1/2 plus 1/2. 3/2 is 3 copies of 1/2. 3/2 is 1/2 plus 1/2 plus 1/2. So you can do more of these examples in class, just like this one.